From the studios of TLC Talk Radio, it's TashaTalkz. I'm your girl, Tasha. And of course, we have an incredible show lined up for you today, as per usual. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. And catch us on TLC Talk Radio, where you can now pull our content on demand. We're so excited to have you follow us. And today, you may recognize this gentleman from last week's episode. This is my friend Twan, and we are back to have a second conversation about his move far, far away from us. We miss you. Welcome back to the show, Twan.
Oh, well, thank you. It's the second round. I got my bring it. What? My DMX energy in me. Let's go.
Man, R.I.P. to him. That hurt.
Man, rest in power, Earl Simmons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That one hurt. My mother was intrigued. She was like, wait, is that the guy that made the song that used to be the intro for your show? Yes. She was like, oh, man.
Wow, I didn't know that. Which one was that? Y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
That was
my God.
I got tired of paying royalties, so I had some custom music done, but that was the intro for our other show, DT on Our Minds. So because people was making us lose our minds.
That's great. That's what's up. Yeah, he got some classics. You know, he had that one, especially the Rough Riders anthem.
Yeah.
And my favorite lyric. Yeah, I got some lyrics on there. He got one favorite one is like he said, got them all like, ooh, I love that. It's classic.
Yeah. I'm glad the brother's at peace.
Yeah, I'm just not totally sold on how he transitioned. Yeah. You know, you get American media. I'm gonna leave that alone, but for the sake of your show, I'm just gonna leave.
Right. I mean, I'm cool with it. We talking. It's TashaTalkz. So
okay,
let's go. As we chatted before about your move to La Major, remind listeners on how you ended up where you are. Tell us exactly where you are and how you ended up there.
Well, let's go back. It's ironic how it started. I was on injury from work and teaching math in high school. I was tore my ACL and I was at home and I was just saying, you know what? I don't see myself going back to high school at the end of the year, like going another round. Sure. So I've done high school, done college, done grad school. So education, I'm going to pull out a little bit. I'm going to just back up, see what I can do with these 2 engineering degrees I got. Because I kind of put them on hold because of helping my parents when they were transitioning. Sure. So what I ended up doing was I just said to myself, let me put my resume together, see what's out there, and ran into another Lynn Bloom alum, shout out to Merrill Grant, and I wanted to get this Scrum Master certification, and there was a scholarship for it at the Urban League, Chicago Urban League. Got to get them a shout out too. Yeah. So I went through there, I was accepted, and I took the course, and I got the certification. Prior to that, just barely prior to that, I was in the restaurant with Meryl, telling her to hook me up. And I'm leaving after we went to leave Chi-Town. My phone rings. I pick up the phone. I'm thinking I left something in the restaurant. And Meryl was calling me. But it wasn't Meryl. It was a colleague, again, from Tuskegee University, who actually asked me to consider coming to work in the cybersecurity Southeast Asia. And I was like, yeah. So he says, do you have a Scrum Master certification? I said, that's ironic. I just left lunch where I was going to make that happen. So the universe put all these things together. And I got the interview, aced it, and then went to visit. I loved it. I loved the peace. I loved the harmony. I loved just the people. Pretty nice. And then I just made up my mind it was time to go. And like I said in the previous interview, I had already packed up my house. So everything was aligning.
Yeah. It's really important that we trust our gut, that we hear what's being said to us in the spirit, and we move as directed. And you were already doing that. Yeah, I know it's your story, but if there's any lesson to pull from that, I think that's it. And we've shared some things offline about, my plans and the things that I desire, and
kind
of aligning because I'm listening. I'm paying attention. Okay, God, what you say? What? I'm listening. And sometimes that means sitting silently.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give you a couple of nuggets I picked up in that whole experience. I had already been partaking in what's called the 40-day prosperity plan.
Okay.
There are 10 mantras. You say one each day. You read it, meditate on it, you write on it. 10 days, and you repeat it 4 times. They give you 40 days. And things were just appearing. I knew that I wanted to live somewhere warm. I want to get back into IT and technology. And I want to have a certain amount of salary. All 3 of those are met. And I wasn't pushing back. I was like, I asked for this. And I recognized what I asked for. And that's the thing. When we put something out into the universe, it cannot come back void. So when people say, man, I'm broke, or I don't have this, I'm like, really? I'm not saying that. It's not coming out of my mouth.
That's right. What you put in the atmosphere.
What I was choosing. I would choose our words. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's
out of the tongue. It's in the Bible.
Yeah. It's so dope. It's so dope. So you've been there over just over a year, a little more than a year.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. We've moved kind of quickly. See how the pandemic throws off your timetable.
Right.
When we talk about relationships, like, what are some of the differences between community relationships here? Like, of course, you and I were born and raised in Englewood. We've been all over the city in a variety of settings, right? In a variety of relationships. What does the community relationship look like?
The community is very, how can I say this? Shows up with the word community, common unity community. Right. And, the people are very upfront about being on the same page with certain things. And I say that it's not a violent or an aggression. It's really like, this is what we're gonna do in our community. Like in my condo, I'm in a WhatsApp group. A lot of communication about if someone left a toy downstairs, whose toy is this? And there was some paper on the floor. Who left this paper? I mean, it's community, like when you grew up back in the day. So I totally enjoy that. And then I've spoken about. I'm really heavy in thinking about and talking about some of the unfair practices of the police department in the U.S.
Let's go.
Now I got some. Now this disclaimer. The disclaimer. I got some good friends, frat brothers, Masonic frat brothers. I got some family that are in the in the services of actually serving the community from a police standpoint. Whether it's sheriffs or what have you. Anyway, I much respect to them. This is not a personal.
And I think intelligent people understand.
Not a shot to them.
Yeah, I think unintelligent people understand you're not lumping people together.
No, I'm not doing that. But from the recent cases of the unarmed Black man, woman, child is being gunned down or just being attacked. Not even a thought around here. In almost 2 years, I've probably seen 2 policemen up close, period. And one of them thought maybe I was from another country. And when he actually heard my voice, oh, you're from the U.S.? Yes. Oh, sorry. He just took off.
Wow. Wonder what
it was like.
Apologize.
Right. You from the U.S.? Okay. I mean, you get to be, like I said, you get to be here, a person first. Then it recognizes that you're American. And then, anything else that may be used to describe you may come up later. But at the end of the day, the first thing they're going to say is, hello and where you from? Oh, what part of the world you from? U.S. I can hear your accent. People say it all the time. I can tell you from the U.S.
Yeah.
Then I say Chicago, and then we have a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
That city in the world. I like that you said that they recognize your humanness first.
Yes, you'd be a person versus an object to shoot at, a target.
Agreed.
That peace of mind, unparalleled. You just can just move around. Now I sort of understand what the other quote unquote culture in the U.S. is like, when it comes to them not worried about the police, so they don't hear anything about police brutality. Like, oh no, what you talking about?
Yeah,
I'm really like that now. I'm like, what are you talking about? And but it's universal. I mean, they don't, from what I understand, they don't just pick one group of people to antagonize. So it's just a great peace of mind. Late at night, you can walk anywhere. No one's bothering you. No one's saying anything to you. The most thing they're going to say to you, someone's probably going to say something about a mask. And that's as of late. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But you can just be at peace. Oh, and the other part, got to share this one.
Okay.
No, the citizens cannot carry guns. So there's no shooting. There's no drive-bys. There's no someone shot into a restaurant or a school shooting or anything like that. You know, a child who got shot sit on the porch in the summer. None of that. None of that.
And so you can live your life without fear of things that are completely preventable, right?
What is it? Yeah, well, yeah, fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would use that word fear. Also, danger, even though the two are different. But there is not a sense of danger if you decide to go to a party or a bar or a restaurant or school or church. Let's keep it real.
Yeah.
You know, South Carolina was real. You know, you have the and I'm reading about the mass shootings there in America, and I'm reading about it. I'm like, what? My mind cannot even register that anymore. Whereas it was commonplace. Be like, well, you know, that's what happens. Now I'm like, something's wrong. Really, really wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you realize that it doesn't have to be, that you don't have to put up with it, that the value of community is more important than somebody's right, allegedly, to bear arms. Right.
Every time you bear arms around here is because you got on the tank top, and it's because it's almost 100 degrees outside.
That's hilarious. I love it. You mentioned the peacefulness. That's the core of the culture. Now, we talked about not living in fear, not having this sense of danger. But you talked about peace of mind and self-care. Talk about what that looks like in Malaysia.
Okay. Great question. Great segue into that peace of mind. I'm telling you, you can work in a more creative state.
Sure.
You're like, oh, so imagine you had to deal with stuff on a red line, blue line, whatever, in public trains or in traffic, crazy drivers, right? Rude, whatever.
Just on the expressway, Jesus.
Y'all have shootings on the expressway. This is bananas.
Baby was just hit the other day by gun violence on the expressway.
You deal with that. Then you come home and you have to deal with just home stuff. And then you think like, okay, what am I got to do for work tomorrow? You don't want to go back out the house. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, just all that stuff is completely taken away. What kind of person can you be? What kind of energy do you have? And for me, I was dealing with some physical trauma. When I say physical, I wasn't like beat up or anything, but because I have doing so much,
have a different conversation. Like what?
Because I was doing so much traveling between the U.S. and Malaysia. At one time, I did maybe 3 or 4 round trips, at least 3 round trips in like 3 months. In one section, it was like, I did 2 round trips in about 2 weeks. One-way flight is 23 hours.
Yeah.
That puts some hurting on the human body.
Sure.
And because, my lifestyle, and I used to have a lot of my vegan lifestyle, I used to have, a lot of nutrients and herbs and stuff like that. But me being here, I didn't know where to get those things. So I'm working, I'm traveling, going to Singapore, going to India, I'm working. I wasn't taking care of my body. And I wasn't exercising because I was in Aikido, but I was still doing the healing piece from the partially torn ACL. And I never really got my body back in tune. And what happens is I'm doing some research here. I'm like, let me start taking care of myself, Yeah. I start going to cryotherapy. It's when your body goes in super sub temperatures. I start going to cryotherapy. I go to a physical therapist. Then I would go to like I met someone the other day. I'm supposed to go today. I gotta probably change my schedule, but I was going to cranial therapy. But anyway, that one. And then yesterday I did no, not just day before yesterday. This is Saturday here. I did Epsom salt float therapy.
Tell us about that.
Oh my God. Ridiculous.
Well, they put now.
They put tons of what I would call 100 pounds, couple of 100 pounds of Epsom salt, and it's like pool type of device. It looked like an egg, mork egg. But you get in there, and they you can have the lights on, different color lights, or you can make it dark. And your whole job is to do absolutely nothing. Float for 75 minutes.
Wow.
And, you get all the magnesium and stuff into your body because you're sitting in Epsom salt for 45 minutes. Don't let that stuff get in your eye, anywhere near your eyes, boy. You can hang it up. Don't have any scratches. Lord. You will know exactly where they are. So it's just very relaxing. It helps get your body and your central nervous system adjusted. And if you're too hyper or if you don't have enough energy, it gives you that perfect work to give you that perfect balance. And I do that at least twice a month.
I bet you that's a really good natural remedy for anxiety. I think that a lot of people deal with the anxiety that manifests in different ways, right? And we feel like we don't have time for self-care. It sounds like that's prioritized where you are.
Man, I prioritize for me. I'm gonna tell you, because my weekends is self-care Saturday and Sunday. You're gonna get those different therapies. You're gonna go to the different massage parlors, get the deep tissue massage. I'm going to get a pedicure. Every weekend I got a list that I have to complete. I'm like, oh, well, this weekend I think I'll do something different. Last night was my first time I did sound. I took a sound bath.
Tell me.
Those singing bowls. Yeah, and then they have different other instruments as well. So, and it was like a group. It's a group event. It's like 5 or 6 of us.
Okay.
And it's amazing. The cymbals, the gong, all those different sound elements. Because the body responds to music.
Absolutely.
Responds to music, and it's so key that we now. And I've been saying this for years, that we pay attention to the frequency, the vibration of the music that our children are listening to, because we don't know what they listen to. And those things affect our mind, body, and spirit. And people
think that's
you're
right.
They think it's a joke. Okay. I had this book when I was in Chicago called The Hidden Messages in Water. And they would expose water to various types of music, and they would take the droplets of the water and freeze them. And if the music was, say, it was a Christian song, something very, or some orchestra song, they would see the crystals, and it would look like a perfect snowflake. Then they would take some music where it's rock and roll, or they just some lyrics and say, oh man, I don't do this, that, and other, and blah 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 blah. You take that same water, expose it to those lyrics, music. Droplet, they showed one guy was like, man, I'll kill you. And the droplet of water looked like a man pointing a gun at somebody. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is science. This is not guessing. This is not someone telling comedy. It's not me doing stand-up. I wish I was, like said, the entertainer. But I'm not. It's my good frat brother. He's good. But in any case, it's just the science. And if you wonder what's happening with a lot of our children besides the food, we can talk about the food here in a second too. The food, the music, and then just the elements in the atmosphere. You take all of those things that people are ingesting, and they're holding on to it. But whatever you take, put in, is going to come out. It's going to come out in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
You wonder why they're up spike in suicides, depression, things of that nature. It's like, what are you consuming? What are you eating? So I go to these different therapies, and I went physical therapy, sound bath therapy, and I did float therapy, and also did a hydrotherapy, colonic. Last those 4 events in 2 days, I feel like a brand new person.
Yeah.
I feel like a brand new person. I slept so well last night after the sound therapy. It was my first time. I was like, oh, I'll be back. And they used some other devices to make the water really alkaline.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But the science is what's missing, and a lot of things is going on. And that's one of the things I don't. I'm not a huge proponent of getting the vaccination, because what's the science behind this? Why does it take? Why does it take us less than a year for you to actually put this on the market? Not why did it take? Why is it being pushed? Something that take less than a year, like 10 months. True scientists know different. They're like, wait a second, man, we need to do our test trials, so on and so forth. But I think the fear factor, go back to that word fear factor is being pushed. People are being pushed to where there is this, and then what if this happens? A guy approached me, had my mask down, and it was hot. I'm trying to breathe, like, dude, come on, man, it's hot in here. He walks all the way over in the mall into my space, like he's supposed to social distance. That means back the hell up. Put your mask on. I'm like, man, you gonna get out of my face? Dude, get out of my face. I'm trying to keep you from dying. Look, everybody in this mall gonna die one day. So you need to back up. Piece of hair grease, bro. I'm not gonna die today. I'm not gonna die today. So use the power of your voice. Now use that now. Use the power of your voice to say, look, I'm not on that. You can be on all you want. I'm not on it. And I think people are scared to use their voice because they're so used to they want to be with status quo. The hell with status quo. If I was status quo, I'd still be in Englewood. I might be on the block trying to slang something if I was status quo. That's not who I am. Yeah. So I've never just been, let's do what everyone else is doing just because they're doing it.
Sure.
Nah. Critical thinking. Critical thinking.
Critical thinking is key.
Mm-hmm. Listen, critical thinking really should be broken down to critique all thinking. That's what it comes down to. Man, critique all thinking. Like, how are you thinking? Or are you just following because someone's saying, you need to get a vaccination? I'm getting a vaccination. And it's sort of like the story with the lady who cuts that butt end of the ham. And it's like, why do you do that? Well, my mama did it, my grandmama did it, and she does it because it's family tradition, but she doesn't understand why. Cool. But her grandmother did it because the pan was too small. Mm-hmm. She never picked that part up, but she just does it because her grandmother did it.
That was in the sermon. You keep mirroring the sermons when we chat. Understand why versus just following the rule. Mm-hmm.
Man, it's universal. And the energy of the universe is bringing this conversation to the forefront because I didn't know what the sermon was. I wasn't there physically.
Right. Absolutely. So being your best self, right? That's something as long as I've known you, you've always been that guy. You've always been, the trendsetter, the guy who was not following the rules. I chuckle at the way we met while I was lost in my French class. Don't worry about that. Anyway, how does that translate into the interpersonal? Because I always tell people you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you don't take care of you, then you can't be the best whoever. I've been having ongoing conversation with people in my circle about how, people get on your nerves, right? They just get on your nerves. They do stupid stuff. They say stupid stuff. They act crazy.
Yeah.
But we never explore the why. And so we get mad at the action. And, a lot of times, hell, we should be mad at the action. But I think that if we understand the why and understand a lot of times the trauma that informs the action, then we can respond in a more compassionate way, right? So I wonder, how many times are we angry with the action, not paying attention to the why? Why is your boss like this? I shared it on the Bible study call the other day. I was like, a lot of people who act the fool in a setting where they have some power is because they feel powerless in some other situation.
Right.
And so this is an opportunity for them to wield power. Okay, fine. But how can we take care of ourselves, right? And then make sure that we're not bleeding our trauma all onto other people. right? So with the self-care, with
Man.
the culture, the peaceful culture that you now live in, how does all of this translate into the interpersonal relationships? You've been there almost 2 years. I know we talked about
Right.
how you were good with your coworkers, but what other types of interpersonal relationships, or how have you seen that manifest in other interpersonal relationships? Like, what does dating look like over there for you?
Well, it's like this. People are who they are across the planet, no matter what. So you get the same type of slick talking person from Englewood you're gonna have in Japan or whatever. You're gonna have that type of personality. You just gotta know who you are. And when you are sure of the the um, the good properties and energy that you put into your human edifice,
Sure.
it shows. It shows. I was in a cab one day, and the guy says, "Man, you're so cool." And then, it's just that's me.
Yeah.
People always say you're so cool, and he haven't seen me, know me from a hole in the wall if I came from 9,000 miles away. But your energy and who you are just resonates with people in general. I've always been a kid magnet all the time. Even here, kids, they just lock in. They gonna be in a crowd of people, and the kids, they lock in on me, and I'll be like, "Here we go again." It's not a bad thing. It's just that I'm so used to it. So I'm like, I'm just still me. I know I'm still doing what I've been doing, and that's not to say that I don't change. Because I grow, I read, I listen, I have mentors. But it's at the end of the day, I'm not compromising who I've been all this time. That things that work for me, I'm not compromising the academic side. I got books all over the house. I'm not compromising my diet, nutrition. I'm not compromising my meditation practices. And a lot of those therapies, it's meditation. You really have to sit still. Yeah. And those things have always gotten me through when I was growing up in Chicago. Sometimes you just have to sit still. And if you don't sit still, the Most High God will sit you still.
Yeah, that's not even how I want it to go. So I'm gonna just sit down and hush and listen, because I don't want him to push me down. I don't want that.
You don't sit down. DMX was saying that on this interview recently, but he was reading the prayer. He was like, "Man, God will sit you down." And to his point, the world has had to sit down for whatever reason, whatever cause. But in the end of the day, the world sat down and made us realize what's true. Now, I could have been a fearful person. I'm 9,000 miles away. I don't have my friends. I can't go outside and this, that, and the other. And they don't really have a Harold chicken here, even though I don't eat chicken. But I'm just saying, I could be complaining. But at the end of the day, like, what did I learn while I was here? Just being still. What I learned about me, what I learned about the world, what I learned about money. Because money never stopped moving.
I know.
Money is energy. And some monies never stop moving. I'm talking about across the globe. Sure. So where do you find yourself moving? I think we vaguely touched on cryptocurrencies, but there was some research I had been doing. And some of these are just shooting through the roof. As of late, I've been watching a couple of them. Of course, Bitcoin is now 60 grand. I remember when it was 20 grand. I remember that. And it was like 20, 25 grand a pop. Now it's at 60 as of this week. I'm like, wait a second. What happened in the world where Bitcoin gets to go up to 60 grand? You got to ask yourself that question. If everyone's on a standstill in lockdown, something's happening.
Something is happening. I like the way you said you didn't compromise. You are authentically you. And I'm going to tell you, that's why you're a kid magnet. You know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You're a kid magnet because kids are the most innocent. They have been less corrupted, right, by the cares of the world. So they're like, that one, he's cool, because they can see it. I always say, if you have to baby to somebody and they scream bloody murder, get them the hell away from you and that baby. Yeah. Because
the animals do it too. The animals do it too. Yeah, animals do it too. Like, nope, dog be like barking like DMX at your grill, like back up.
Exactly. So we do have to pay attention. Yeah, I love it.
Here's the thing. It's why when I take off my mask, I'm like, dude, get away from me. The one thing I picked up in my and just me knowing my scientific brain, I look at kids, I watch children. And the saddest thing that happened during this pandemic for me is that the children could not see other children smile. Now, children some of them don't talk like regular language, and regular like words, full sentences. And a lot of these children here, they're from different parts of the world, and they may not all speak the same language from a standpoint of verbalizing actual sentences. But kids speak the same language when they smile.
They do. That's so wonderful.
And when you don't see that, I was like, this part right here the world gonna have to pay for this. The world gonna have to pay for that. There's some mental trauma that comes behind that. There is some depression. You look at what happens to alcoholism, what happens to drug use, and even at the points where another addiction, porn use. Porn watching. All of these things, but everyone is screaming about a damn mask. What about this other stuff? Because the depression can push suicides up. Yeah. And then there's other mental acuities that could go awry. And children are now being aggressive. Kids are in fear of people who don't even have on a mask. Really? Who's asking those questions? Who's bringing those things up?
That's interesting. The viewers know that in my other life, I too am an educator. And we had virtual report card because we've not been in the building at all. And one of my students, who I could tell is incredibly intelligent, he was slipping. He was passing my class, but with a C, which might as well have been an F because he's an A student. But when he and I were, all the teachers, we were departmentalized middle school. And when we were talking, we were trying to figure out what made him slip. And he blew up, not at us. He just blew up. He was frustrated. He missed the regular school setting. And mom was, she's very caring, but she didn't understand where he was coming from. And so I had to interject. Mom, I hear you. I know you ticked off, but wait a minute. We need to hear what he's saying and why he's frustrated so we can adjust, what's going on. And so we just had a dope Miss Clapton student conversation. I kind of took over the meeting and said, I know this is not ideal. I was like, but this is an opportunity for us to share how we're feeling, explore. I said, we didn't know what you were dealing with because you wouldn't report to class, because you wouldn't do the work. We didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
We're asking you, if you're not able to articulate it, okay, now we understand that you just didn't feel like articulating it. It's good. Now we're going to walk you through the rest of the year and help you, because it is a trying time for everybody.
Yeah. And it's good that you actually had, provided some intervention. It's excellent because the children are not being heard. Not only are they not being heard, they're not being seen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like you have erased the whole generation off the planet. Yeah. And that's sad.
There are people. I hate the saying that kids should be seen and not heard. No. They need to be heard. They're people. And so when you walk into a situation, now we veered a little bit off topic, but it's related. If one of the things that I do when we meet my whole team, when we meet our kids, we express to them, we understand that you're people and you might have had a crappy morning. Come in, talk to us, tell us how you feel. You excuse from the work for the day. You're still responsible for it. But you can go sit in the back and put your head down because you're a person. And so you have emotions. And today just might not be it. I get it. But, you don't have the autonomy to say, I don't want to go to school today. Like I can call off work.
And you think about, let's think about this, because I was in education too. I love my students, and some of them are still going on getting degrees, and I'm cheering them on Facebook, because I couldn't be at graduation even if I was there anyway. Mm-hmm. So I can attend some virtual things. But let's talk about the student or students who may have gotten into some situation that they have no one to turn to effectively. It may be some unforeseen or unplanned parenthood situation, pregnancies, right? The male and the female. Now, and if you don't have two parents at home, and that one parent is just trying to juggle everything, and now y'all stuck at home, but you can't talk to them.
It's a lot.
Man, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of unraveling that the world, and it's, I was speaking about the U.S. because that's my home, but it's a lot of work that's going to have to be done to unravel and fix a lot of things that people are overlooking because they're so focused on vaccinations and a mask. Okay, now all these vaccinations aren't promising, number one. Number two, some of them have some adverse effects which are not being talked about and socialized on the media. Not because they want to suppress that. And again, like I said, I'm not totally sure or even positive that Hank Aaron, Marvin Hagler, or DMX actually had a fair shake at or conversation or reporting on their made a reaction to their vaccination, from what I'm hearing reported. But they're not going to talk about that. They're not going to say that Hank Aaron had something that went awry with him 2 weeks later.
Sure.
Nor Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler was one of the greatest pound for pound top shape athletes the world has ever known. So if he didn't have any head trauma, which you would think come from boxing, but this guy was in one of the greatest shapes ever. So when Thomas Hearns allegedly mentioned that he was struggling after he had gotten his COVID treatment, they shut him down and took all that stuff off. You don't even read about that anymore. So it's the fact that people are trying to cover stuff up. Nah, I'm not into that. I can't buy in if you're not being transparent. And I don't think these companies are being transparent.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And I do understand the concern. I have been fully vaccinated, but I do understand the concern because I struggled with it about whether or not I was going to do it. I was like,
Yeah. I get it.
My parents did it. We're fine. Thank God. But I do understand because medical racism.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like this. Diseases have been on this planet for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a protocol to go through and develop vaccines and things of that nature. And there's a protocol. But when you skip the line, I'm a little apprehended about that. I had some apprehension about that. Skip the line of the process. I'm a little worried. And then you do massive marketing. Mm-hmm. And, I've never seen a chickenpox commercial in my life.
Nope.
I've never seen one. A measles commercial. Get your measles shot. They might post something at Walgreens, get a flu shot, but I'm like, Walgreens, what kind of chipstick I don't sell? I don't know damn flu shot from Walgreens.
What? I get it though. I get it. So and there's so much, to cover. I like the holistic approach that you discuss, you share, because we have to be well-rounded.
Yeah. You have to look at it all. There's a balance. That's the reason for algebra. You got to balance the equation. You gotta have a balance. You gotta have a balance.
Get out of here.
You gotta have a balance. And if the balance is not being shown, it's going to show up. The imbalance is going to show up.
That's valid.
It's going to show up. And it's in the household, when you talk about parenting, when you're talking about your work arena, if there's not a good, fair concern on the employees, and it's all about profit, but you're not really listening to the people who may be prophesizing some demise based upon how they're being treated. And it's not that they're going to take a personal attack. It's just that if you don't have good workers, then you're not going to have a good product. And therefore, you don't have good customers. So everything has a supply chain or trickle down effect.
Understood. When you talk about balance, we're going to wrap the show with this question. As we swing back into your lifestyle and holistic lifestyle, you get how many days of vacation standard? Because somebody pick her parents on the plane and say, we move it. Twan done already checked it out for us. Let's go.
We had 24 days, that's standard like every year. I had 5 carryover from last year. So beginning this year, I had 29 days of vacation. But there are 50 holidays recognized here in Malaysia. Now, my company doesn't recognize all of them. From a work standpoint, because we'll never get anything done, or any company for that matter.
Right.
Yeah, but there are roughly like 50 holidays on the books here in the state of, in the country of Malaysia. Now, different states honor different holidays, and we have quite a bit. But my company probably recognizes at least at the minimum, probably about 20, roughly, give or take a couple. So if you actually stagger your vacations with the holidays and the weekends.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. Last year I had a 16-day vacation.
How easy do you think it would be to get my parents on the plane? We got to do like they did on the A-team and knock them out.
Yeah, you got to wheel them in there in the wheelbarrow.
Right.
You got to put them in the wheelbarrow. No, he ain't going.
That's it. Listen.
Wake them up and it's like, where are we? We're over the Indian Ocean. What? How did we get here?
Give him some more, whatever you started with. The minute he comes.
But for me right now, it's like it's a good problem to have. Sure. Like I think I had 27 days left in this middle March this week, and the holidays are starting to pick up in like May, June, and July. And I have to burn these days. Like, I have to. And you can go into Christmas where, like, this would be bananas. Put it this way, if I play my cards, if I were to do that, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I can keep 15 days going into Christmas holiday. Christmas is going to be a nice run between Christmas and New Year. So I can have 3 to 4 weeks off, whatever, almost a month.
That's it. That's
still, yeah. And it's crazy. Yeah.
Talk about
crazy. But mind. Oh my gosh. You might snap if you can't travel because of the COVID restrictions. Now you really might lose your mind because you're like, wait, I got all these days, I can't go anywhere. That's it. That's why I say you can have a good problem. But at the end of the day, people are actually, they recognize the days. So what are you doing for the holiday? What are you doing for the weekend? Like, what are you talking? And I forget. They be coming up so fast. I'm like, what holiday? We off work? Are you serious? And then some of my coworkers could be off in another country. So we got meetings. Like, well, we got to move that meeting because they're off this day. But when we're at work and vice versa.
Wow.
So it's you got to balance some things out. But it's worth it.
Well, yeah, it's worth it. And I always, as always, I enjoy talking to you anyway, but particularly here on TashaTalkz. Thank you for being a part of this show. As we wrap up, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media pages, TashaTalkz on TLC Talk Radio, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, YouTube, and catch us on TLCTalkRadio.com. 24/7 edutainment. We'll catch you next week. Thank you, Klein.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. God bless. Take care.